start? Okay, welcome, welcome. Can you hear me? Because I know we're competing with bands and all sorts of information. Is that okay? Can you hear? Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you for coming. So raise your hand if you're here just because it's time to sit down. But also raise your hand if you'd love to feel more resilient and confident. Yay! That's right, you're in the right place. Just set the timer. So, who am I? I don't know if you saw in the bio who I am. Just a quick summary of who I am. Did anybody come to Zoe's great talk just now? Yeah. Okay. Great. Brilliant. Perfect. So I'm building on that, which is awesome. So I spent 25 years in the army to lieutenant colonel in healthcare. I also have a PhD in resilience, which is hence the doctor bit, and healthcare as well, so a double whammy. And I traveled all over the world, deployed in some very dodgy places. I've also had a few lives, been caught on mortars, avalanches, coups, all sorts of stuff, which has helped me live and breathe what resilience really means in reality. So I just want to, how was your day today? Sometimes we wake up, most mornings, I am sure, to have a great day. And then it starts unraveling a little bit. Either because you might have come here on the Elizabeth line and there was a bit of a delay and you didn't get here as soon as you wanted, or it might be, your children are not well, or something goes on that makes it beginning to be, a few nods here, not such a great day. And I hope you're having a great day today. Or it might be that you look at your calendar and you think, I forgot I had to have that meeting today. Or I forgot that I put down I needed to have that conversation. And that anxiety starts building. But the great news is, I've got 4 tips, 4 tools to share with you today that will help you never dread a conversation again. So maybe right now, or a few days ago, you felt frustrated. Why am I not getting that promotion? Why have I just said yes when I want to say no? Why am I finding it difficult to relax when I go home from work? Because I'm thinking about work and not always present. Maybe you feel that you're in a bit of a storm. And that was last week. We went to Crete, which was lovely, except it was 5 degrees and we had hailstorms in Crete in May, which is not what you expect. And that was the waves shooting up. But that's how it can feel sometimes, isn't it? We go to work and we feel we're in a storm. So imagine the opposite was true. And this is a few days after the storm, the calm waters, which are always where we ought to be in. Imagine instead that you're in control. You feel calm. You're having a great day because you've got all the skills within you to navigate anything that you're having to deal with. Maybe you've got your boundaries really tight in terms of you always have a lunch break. You never have your lunch at desk anymore because you know that it's important to take a break. And you never have to worry about saying yes when you want to say no again because you have all the skills in place. So you've got a supportive team as well that can help you. You're in a psychologically safe space where you've got people around to ask for help without feeling that you're being stupid, that you have the courage to be vulnerable because that's the environment that you're in. So you can imagine over there, to over here, something needs to change. Yes or no? Exactly. So why is it important right now? Because I believe leadership is a behaviour, not a job title. And this picture is my daughter. She's now 24. But when she was 3, we were doing a 10K. And she wanted to be part of it, just like your team might want to be part of stuff they're not quite ready for. And so we carried her on the 10K. She walked a little bit, we carried her. My husband and I took it in turns to carry her. And when we got to the end, because we were walking and not running so much, because we were carrying her, sadly, they'd run out of all the T-shirts for the children. So she was given an adult one, which is why her face is a little bit sad. However, how often do we feel we've got to put on a bigger T-shirt before we're ready? So that sometimes we have the ability to step up when we might not even realize that we have. And therefore, we have so much more within us than we can ever imagine. Sometimes we just need some conversations to realize that is the case. So why is it important to change now? Partly because we don't want to be over that feeling vulnerable and not saying no and all that kind of stuff. We want to feel empowered and confident. But we also need that connection, that collaboration, and trust. Now, this is why these events are amazing, because we're dealing with real people all the time. I believe at the moment there is a bit of a trust recession. And I'm sure if you're on service desks or you're dealing with people, sometimes they don't even know if you're a real person. They just assume you might be a bot. And so now it's so important that we have those connections and collaborations with our teams, with our family, with our friends, and actually build that up. And those of you who saw Zoe would have seen some scary statistics. And this is one that really, which I'm sure you can relate to. 70% of individuals avoid difficult conversations at work, which is what I'm going to talk to you about today. And that means that not only do we not have them, the ones that we don't have just fester and fester. So where it could be a very simple conversation to nip it in the bud, suddenly things escalate and get out of hand and make it more unpleasant than it would be otherwise. And I'm sure there is no surprise to you that if you feel psychologically safe at work and you've got a great team, you've got a great boss, then we're much more likely to raise issues. Unfortunately, sometimes we don't feel that is the environment that we're in. So I'm all about resilience and confidence, so I'm just going to share my definition of it. So to me, resilience, we hear so much of it, and I know Becky's going to be talking about this shortly. So resilience to me is not avoiding the adversity, it's trusting yourself you're going to get through the adversity. And I always talk about bouncing forward. You hear a lot of people talking about bouncing back. It's bouncing forward, because you're never the same person as you were before that event. Often, we don't believe that we're going to get through something. And I'm sure there's many things you've done in your life, probably even this week, that you thought, if somebody had said to me, I was going to have to deal with that, I'd be saying, no, thank you, that is not my ability, I will not do that. And yet, you have. But I also believe that you can't have resilience without confidence. Confidence is all about trusting yourself. trusting a thing like the IT's working, yes, that'd be great, and trusting someone else and ourselves. So that's why they go together, because when we're in a really challenging situation, we need to trust ourselves that we have the capacity to get through it. And the reason I've put this picture up is just to demonstrate. This is when I climbed Snowdon in 2023. Now, by this, I've climbed the Himalayas. In fact, I was caught in an avalanche in the Himalayas, and obviously, I survived. Hurrah! So I wasn't complacent about Snowdon, but I was aware that I had climbed sort of bigger mountains. Anyway, on this particular day, we started off, a group of us, as my mastermind group, there was about 20 of us. It was a beautiful sunny day. And has anybody here climbed Snowdon? Yay. Well, you probably will relate to this story very much. Started at the bottom, sunshine, lovely, had our backpack on, just in case it rained. Lots of nodding heads. Well, half an hour later it did. Torrential rain, horizontal rain, and it started getting colder. At that point, some of the group just said, right, that's it. It's not a sunny day anymore. I am out. And the rest of us started walking. I'm a bit clumsy. So about an hour in, with the rocks really wet, I slipped. Hurled myself down the mountain, thinking, maybe this is my 9 lives up. But it was all okay, so I stopped. My hand felt a bit sore, but I just thought, I'll just carry on. And the weather got worse. The train in Snowdon, there's a little tourist train to go up top. That got stopped. I think we were about the only ones left on the mountain. And then, as we got a bit further, most people had given up. The guy leading it said, I said to him, is this time to stop? And he said, I leave it up to you. So that was, to me, a green light to get to the top, because I'm never a quitter. And then the rocks started slipping down the mountain because of the weather. And I had a déjà vu when I was in a rock avalanche in Nepal. And suddenly I felt very frightened. And all I had to do was I had to literally put one step in front of the other. So I had to be on my own, so I could just concentrate on literally one step in front of the other. And I made sure I had somebody ahead of me and somebody behind, so I wasn't completely alone. And 2 hours later, got to the top. And my friend said, we've got to celebrate. And I said, I can't, because I know I've got to get down again. But she took that picture. I'm only sharing this because when we're right in the middle of it is when we feel the least resilient and the least confident. But that is when the magic happens, because we find resources within us that we didn't even realize we had. So this whole thing took 6 hours, got to the bottom, very relieved to get to the bottom. And I took my glove off and I thought, ooh, that doesn't look too good. And I'd actually broken my hand when I slipped at the beginning of the walk, and ended up not being able to drive for 6 weeks, A&E and all that kind of stuff. But the point of this story is we have more resources within us than we could ever imagine. And the other thing that is so important is courage. We all have more courage within us also than we realize. And my definition of courage is when there's no guarantee of the outcome. When I was in Afghanistan, I had the privilege of ensuring that the healthcare was top-notch for all the 6,000 troops that were deployed at the time. And it was an incredible experience with the surgeons and the gifts of the surgeons and the anaesthetists who were prepared to experiment, redefined what was a non-survivable injury. We had the first triple amputee patient who is now a world speaker talking about his experience. But this is an example. So each day, the soldiers would go out on patrol. They knew that 1 in 6 of them would not be coming back that day. And yet, statistics didn't matter to them because they were always going to be the 5 out of 6. That is what they're dealing with. They had no idea. Now, you don't need to go to Afghanistan, thank goodness, to show courage. You are showing it every day. Just asking someone, how are they, when you don't know what they're going to say. That takes courage. You know, picking up the phone when you don't know who it's going to be and what they're going to be like. That takes courage. So I just want you to think for a moment. When have you shown courage that you didn't even realize was courage? Because I guarantee you have so many times when you've shown so much courage that you just batted it off and don't even realize it. So sometimes it's so important to take that moment to reflect how far we've come, not how far we've got to go. So I'm just going to share another story here. I'm on a mission to end workplace toxicity. But why did that happen? And I've written a book which I'm going to give you as a gift after this. But I wasn't always like that. It was the 15th of March, 2015. By this stage in my career, I'd got a few medals, I'd been to Afghanistan, I'd done quite a lot of stuff. I'd also been the first, created the opportunity for nurses to do PhDs, and I was the first one, which was a real honor. I was living the dream, traveling the world, speaking, thinking, wow, this is amazing. I was even global head of nursing militarily for the world. Yet, back in the office, I felt small, disempowered, questioning if I was a leader, wondering what was wrong with me. And then one day, I was in the office by myself. My boss, we'll call him Colonel, because everybody calls themselves by rank in the army. His boss, Brigadier, we'll call him Brigadier, rang me and said, have you seen the email? And I said, no. And he said, well, you need to withdraw it. And I'd just been working for 6 weeks on a project. My boss, Colonel, had actually done a project without anyone knowing that completely undermined. So that moment, I said, right, enough's enough. I'm no longer the good girl. I'm going to say something. It was our board meeting the next day. I told others there I was going to speak. And lo and behold, they said, yes, the moment came. I stood up in the boardroom, silence. I said, this undermining behavior must stop. Silence. Everyone was very awkward, looking down at their papers, gave me that sense of empowerment I didn't realize I had. That moment, I found my voice, and that moment, I set up my vision. And the funny thing was, the meeting was an hour away. I had to travel back in the car for an hour with my boss. Little bit awkward. Luckily, one of my colleagues sat in the front, and I sat in the back, so I didn't have to speak to him. And then he left. And then I had another boss that was also tricky, and I thought, right, that's it. I need to get rid of my weeds. I've obviously got a few weeds going on in my head here. So I found a coach, transformational. I found all these stories, I unpicked them, I felt incredible, and then I set up my mission. And I decided when I left the army, I'd be a coach, I'd train people in their leadership, and therefore I would mission to end workplace toxicity by helping every single leader I come across sharpen themselves, have the courage to be themselves, and then the magic happens. And I wrote this book, which came out in February. It went straight to #1 in 5 categories on Amazon, from global business to leadership to well-being to careers, all sorts of stuff, extraordinary. So that's my gift to you at the end of this. And I've worked with loads of organizations as well. But I want to talk now about having those conversations. But when we're in leadership, it's a bit like a dance. And that was at Strictly, when I went to the Strictly concert. But we often have what's the real story going on? we have the initial, the big doll that's helped, they say what it is, and then, but actually, what's the little tiny doll? That's when the real story's happening. And so we claim these plays. Anybody see about the parent, adult, child stuff? Yeah, great. So we play games. We don't think it's a game, but it is a game. And we take on these various roles. And if you heard Zoe's talk earlier, she talked about this as well. So she's building on her stuff. Ideally, we want to be empowered adult. However, we can slip into parent and child. Now, when it's the fun-loving child, that's where you have banter in the office, all is good. It's when it's petulant child, the stamping of the feet, I'm not doing that, dead on, I've got too much work on, which your team might say. Or parents, when the parent is ideally the caring parent. How are you today? How's your little son who's not very well, etc.? Then it slips into the critical parent. You will do that deadline no matter what's going on in your work. Have you heard this, getting your lines crossed? This is when everyone's talking a different state. So if you're talking parent to parent, adult to child, but if you're critical parent talking to petulant child, obviously it's metaphorically, not literally, then it's when the drama happens. And so this is a drama triangle where we slip. The adult slips into rescuing. Oh, he's had a bad day. Please be kind to him. And the parent role slips into persecutor. And this is where toxic behavior comes in. And often, ironically, the persecutor, this is where the bullying stuff comes in, is because they actually feel a victim themselves. And consequently, they want to lash out to prove that, don't you mess with me. And it goes round and round. And next time you're having a meeting, or even in the Tesco queue, you'll see it happening around you. And the great thing is, once you're aware of it, you can step back and just watch it and not get involved. And everyone changes roles. And it could be just two people just slipping roles. And this is the magic when you switch it, where the victim suddenly thinks, okay, I realise things are not going well. What do I need to do to help myself? And the persecutor becomes the assertive challenger. What do you need from me? And the rescuer, the adult, moves back into adulthood and says, okay, how can I support you? And all the questions start changing from why, which is very judgmental, critical, and are not very helpful, to curiosity, how and what. Now you might ask, how do you get into the energy for this? Because sometimes we just don't feel like we want to be doing all this. We said, not today, I don't feel like it today. So this is what I call the transformational triangle. And this is how you get into the energy before any conversation. And it's how you're holding your body, what language you're saying, and what are you focusing on. So when I mean physiology, you can tell today who's having a great day, who is just a bit tired. Walking on the street, is somebody marching confidently, or they look like the whole world is on their shoulders? So notice what your body is doing. And if you're having a meeting on Teams, for example, put your laptop on a cardboard box or books, because I guarantee that your energy will be so much better if you're standing. And if you've got to make a tricky call, stand up when you're giving it, because I guarantee that your call will have a much better outcome, because your energy will be much better. Language. What words are you using? Are you using disempowering language or empowering language? Are you saying to yourself, oh, I should have gone to the gym today? Or are you saying, I chose not to go to the gym today? That's an empowered choice. I chose. The disempowering language is the shoulds. The shoulds, the have-tos, the got-tos. It just feels heavy. And try must only be used in rugby. Because as soon as we say we're going to try and do something, we're disempowering ourselves. Lots of nods here. So using that empowering language, I love to, I get to, I choose to. And the difference between got and get just feels so different. And what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on, this is going to be a nightmare? Or are you focusing on, this is going to be great? Because our thoughts create our feelings, which create our reactions, which create our results. So if you're thinking, that's like a direction. If you're thinking this is going to be a really challenging meeting, well, that's telling our subconscious, oh, I'll make it challenging for you. I'll do that quite easily. If you say this is going to be a great meeting, then the opposite is true, and you will have a great meeting. So just notice, and this is, you can use this at any time, and it's so powerful. So I just want to share how it worked. So I did this in my coaching course one weekend. I was still working in the army, and I came back to work on the next day, on the Monday. And I thought, oh, they say it's simple in practice, but I've got to test it. So I had a funny old thing. I had another tricky boss at this stage. And he used to send me quite vitriolic emails. He was quite critical of me, and I just, and I thought, right, okay, I'm going to deal with this. So his office was further down the corridor, and I used to hear his footsteps coming down the corridor, and I used to feel really anxious. And I think I used to almost probably look like I was trying to disappear. And so what I did was, I thought, right, I'm going to do something differently. I have a beach ball here, which is my empowerment ball. Now, you don't have to have a physical ball. Obviously, this is just for demonstration purposes. Imagine when you're wanting a bit of a confident boost, you've got a empowerment ball in your hands, and it's giving you all the confidence, all the resilience, everything you need within you. And you can even imagine you've got a light above you, giving you all that resilience and confidence. So I sat at my desk, I sat up confidently, I imagined I had my empowerment ball in my hands, and he just like put his head round the door. I went, "Good morning, Colonel, how are you?" Which is a very different response that I would normally give in the morning. And he literally went, he stepped back, disappeared. He didn't come in. It was a very odd experience. He like shuffled out the room. And even what was even the most weird thing, I heard him walk down the corridor. 10 minutes later, I got an email from him. "Lizzie, you're doing such a great job. I'm so impressed with your work." And I thought, this is bizarre. And literally, it was a result of me changing my energy. And this is why I'm so passionate about being in the right energy, because when you're in the right energy, magic happens. And when you're not, it doesn't. And that's why that triangle that I talked about, focus, physiology, and language, is so important. So we're almost up time. We're going to have 10 minutes for questions in a minute. So I love giving gifts. And my gift for you, oh, here we go, it's not the beach ball, because I'm taking that home, but you can buy it from Amazon very cheaply if you want one, is my book. So I have a bundle for you. So this is time. I'm sure you've got very used to QR codes here. You've probably done a few. So this is my bundle that I'm giving to you as my gift for you coming today. Next week, I'm going to give a workshop. Now, do not worry if you can't attend it. I do them all the time. But this is specifically for yourselves, the Courage to Be workshop. I should also giving you my book. I'll give you the QR, and I've got some books over here, so you can come and follow me in a minute. And this has got my methodology I take all my clients through, which is strengthen your resilience and your confidence, overcome your beliefs that no longer serve you, align with who you are, restore your resilience and your confidence so that you can soar. So there's loads of tips in here. And I'm also giving you my 2-minute leadership diagnostic. It's a quick yes, no, 20 questions, takes 2 minutes to do, and then you can find out how resilient and confident you are. And that will take you 2 minutes, and you get some immediate feedback in your inbox. So that's it. So let's just, that's the QR code for you to sign. And where we're going to meet is, it's the sit stand, which is out of here. You can follow me. I'll have this above my head so you can see me. You can follow me, and I've got a whole load of books I can personally sign for you. Now, I don't know, is the QR code working? Brilliant, perfect. And so that's my gift to you. And then time for questions, if you have any questions. Or thoughts? Yeah.
Talked about energy and balancing that energy. How do you make peace when your energy is low, and how would you say you should? Sometimes I would say my energy is low and I push myself through, which may not be the best way of doing it. How do you balance and recover?
I think that's a great question. Thank you for that. I think to start with, it's knowing when your energy might dip. To start with, understanding yourself. So if you know that your energy always dips at a certain time of day, then if you're unable to manage your calendar, that's when it's so important. In fact, I know organisations that actually everyone has different energy times, like some morning, some afternoon. They've actually used their teams as to who's got what energy when. So if your energy is always great in the morning, the meetings are always in the morning. If they haven't, they'll have them in the afternoon. So number one, it's understanding your energy and the energy of your team. So that's the first thing, is having your day plan. But it's also in terms of what gets your energy up. So you might, if you're flagging a bit, are you a sort of person that would just go have some fresh air for 10 minutes? Or are you some person that needs to sit quietly? It's knowing what gets your energy back up to what it is. And of course, there's loads about sleep, nutrition, taking breaks. There's a whole load of plethora of stuff. Now, I'm a bit bonkers. I go cold water swimming in the morning for 3 minutes every morning. And that gets my energy up. But I think you don't have to be that extreme. So I think that's knowing what you need and knowing what works for you, and it's a very personal situation. I think also I encourage clients to have a list of the things that energizes them. So it could be like stepping outside for 5 minutes. So when you're feeling flagging, you can have a look at that list and think, okay, what do I need to do right now? And it could be literally a 5-minute. We're not talking about I'll take the afternoon off, because that's not possible. It's knowing what works for you. So sometimes we can be our own detective. Does that help? Yeah. Any more questions? So I'd love you to have a think now. Have you got a question, Evie? Yeah.
Hi, you talked about not using the word try, but saying I will.
Yeah.
But are there any cases where using the word try empowers others because it allows them a safe space to give their best, but you're not holding them to achieving something?
Yeah. Another great question. It's the word, not what you're doing. So what I would say, I would avoid the word try, but use language like, let's give it a go, let's experiment. And actually, innovation is absolutely about experimentation, and it's a risk, because we never know if it's going to work. So it's providing that psychologically safe space in your team where they can say, actually, I'm really struggling with this. Can I give you some advice? Or can you help me? So I would say, rather than, it's the word try, not the concept of trying. Does that make sense? Ooh. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that question. Simon, yeah.
Sorry, just one last one.
Yeah.
I have the opposite issue, really, with some of my team who believe that they've actually got the confidence and abilities beyond what they're actually able to do. How would you suggest I can help them?
So you're saying they feel more confident, they're overconfident?
They're overconfident,
Yeah. I think it depends whether they actually are overconfident or they're showing that they're overconfident. Because some will show they're overconfident because they're not feeling confident at all. They overcompensate. So I think it's, again, being that detective. Are they saying, oh, I've got this, I'm too scared to ask for help? Or are they, obviously there's a difference between arrogance and confidence. Arrogance, and I would like to dismiss this straight away, if anybody fears arrogance, you'll never be arrogant because you have the self-awareness what arrogance is. So I think it's when they're overconfident in the fact that you feel they haven't got the skills, but they think they have. And that's a bit like children can do all sorts of stuff, which really they're not ready to do, but they give it a go. So it's a similar thing. So I think it's you asking more questions, like, how did you plan to do this project? What do you need from me? Tell me what you think you're going to do. So you're kind of nipping in to give them the support so they're on the right track, without them feeling they're going to plow through regardless because they're so confident. And often it's simply because they're too scared to ask for help. Does that answer your question? Yeah, brilliant.
Hello.
Hi, thanks.
So you said that you should go, like when you're going to a meeting.
Ooh, yeah.
When you're going to a meeting, or if you're wake up and then you say, I'm gonna have a great day.
Yeah.
What if it doesn't end up being a great day? Like you've already convinced yourself.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great day.
Yeah.
So doesn't it like kill your energy because you're already convinced like it's gonna be a great meeting, and then it's not.
Yeah.
After all.
Another great question. And that's the whole point. I'm not saying this is all utopia by any stretch. What I'm saying is that if we go in with the intention of it having a good day, we're more likely to have a good day. But of course, things go really awry. And that's when the triangular transformation is really important. When we feel that we're being knocked off kilter, and we're not feeling resilient, we're not feeling confident, things go pear-shaped, basically, that is when we just stop, pause, and then we start asking ourselves those curious questions. What do I need to do next? What do I need to do to get my energy up? What do I need to do to make sure this is a success? So while we can't control other people's behavior and situations, we can control ourselves. And so therefore it's noticing when we're wanting to control things that aren't in our control and focus on what we can control. And we can control our thoughts, even though it might take a bit of pausing and thinking and regrouping, and then we can modify the day and feel, get our energy back. Does that answer your question? Brilliant, thank you so much. Minute and a half. Anybody want a final question for a minute and a half? Is that one another? Yeah. I think, do you have a question or not? Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
What's your view on titles? Are they important, or?
Well, obviously in the army, titles are very important because everything was literally, it was on your shoulder what your title was. So I think there's a difference when I talked about earlier about leadership as a behaviour, not a job title. Yes, of course, titles are important. We aspire to titles because that's our promotion. But I think it's the behaviour that is so important. So yes, we all like a title. We all makes us feel good when we're a certain title. I think this is when it sometimes gets confusing, and nothing is worse when somebody is using their title as an excuse for poor behaviour. And that's when I'm against titles, because I really, I think they're really important, but long as somebody is not using their title to use that as an excuse for poor behaviour and poor leadership. Thank you so much for being here. Right, now I shall direct you. I've probably got to take this microphone off, and then I shall direct you to a stand where I'd be delighted to give you one of my books. And have you all managed to actually do the QR code and give your name and details and stuff? Okay, perfect. Right. Okay. So the stand is over there. It's a sits desk. So I shall. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. It's like the Queen.
Thank you, everybody. Could you please just replace your headsets onto the back of the seat and take all of your personal belongings with you? Have a good afternoon. Thank you.